Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey Podcast, the podcast where me and my brother and Dan talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL. And we have got our Christmas episode. I've got a Christmas hat on, Dan's got his Christmas jersey on, and Charlie's got a robe on.
Versace robe. That's what we're talking about.
Definitely not fake from Turkey.
No, I don't do fake. I do real.
But yeah, we've got Charlie's got his beer. He's given me a beer as well for this special Christmas episode. So basically, I don't think we're gonna have an interview in this one because all the players we don't want to annoy them around Christmas time. So we're going to talk through the semi-final first leg between the Leeds Knights and the Sheffield Steeldogs. We're going to talk about all the games this weekend, including the MK Swindon doubleheader, which we'll have a lot to talk about. And then there's also a bit of news as well. And then, yeah, we'll finish off with just talking about the Christmas period because it is a jam-packed Christmas period with a lot of games. But the first bit, news, there was three signings. Now, one of them we probably talk about, which is for Milton Keynes when we get to the MK Swindon game. And that is Forsberg, who has been signed by the Lightning as a covering import cover, but I think he'll actually be one of the starters right until the end of the season if Lawrence does come back. But yeah, we'll talk a bit more about him when we get to MK and Swindon. And then the other two were Bees players, Dan. And they've recruited some players, which I'm actually really happy about because we've spoken for so many weeks about how the Bees, they're struggling for players. It's not right that they're going into games with literally 11, 12 players against teams who have full rosters. But they've finally signed two players, haven't they, Dan?
Yeah, they've signed obviously Josh Martin and Jacob Ranson. Um, I think they're good signings, especially that Ranson signing. Martin is obviously going to be tough for him because he's had like a year out. But he's no stranger to the club, so it's always easy to come back into a club that you know. But Jacob Ranson, he's literally the perfect signing for that team. Like they needed guys, and they needed guys with energy, and to add on to the guys that they've already got, Ranson just fits in perfectly. You know what he's going to do. He's going to work his ass off every shift. He's going to be skating around that ice. He's going to throw the body, heavy forward check, going to get the puck back, battle hard. That's exactly what Bees need. And yeah, he's just going to fit so well into that team. And I think he might have had a few talks with Doug, because obviously when he played for obviously Basingstoke, when Doug brought him in, maybe he kept that connection with him. You never know, but Doug might have influenced that a little bit. But yeah, it's just a perfect signing for Bees and exactly what they needed, really.
Yeah, we've spoken to Jacob, and obviously he's a Romford guy, Charlie. Played for Romford for many seasons, but he just fizzled out the team a bit, didn't he? And maybe he wanted a bit more ice time, a bigger role. I'm really happy for. I think we're both really happy for him that he's found a team in the Bees who we also really like. And he's got this new role, and he actually played at D this weekend, didn't he? Well,
Yeah,
in just the one game.
I will say this because I'm always honest. I think it's a loss for Romford. Uh, I do. I think Jacob Ransom's a very good utility player in this league. What I love about him is he's a classic. He can play on your fourth line or your third D pair, but he'll be out first for every penalty killing shift. And I think that's crucial for resting your top guys and giving your top guys a break. And to be honest, to be fair, as much as he is a miss for Romford, in my opinion, I think he just suits Bees. Like he's going to skate hard. His role isn't to get points. Their top six will get points. His role is to either play D man if they're missing D, because we know with Bees they're not always got a full squad. So they had 4D this week. Jacob Ransom makes out five. Then if they have eight forwards, Jacob Ransom pops back up at forward, plays on the third line, and I just think he works so hard. I think he doesn't give players time on a space. And to be honest, I'm kind of dreading watching him in that Bees rink because he's going to be good in a small ice pad because maybe he's lost to maybe a step of pace as he's got a bit older. But the Bees ice pad, as we've seen, kind of it suits older, cleverer players, in my opinion. And I think Jacob Ransom will really enjoy playing on that ice pad. And just another annoying hard worker to match against when you play Bees and a body. And it is important for them to have bodies.
Yeah.
Same
This
with Josh Martin on that front.
I'm happy for him, and as you said, he can play forward D. So I think when maybe the way Raiders are playing, this is just from a fan point of view, maybe didn't quite fit in the system that they play now. But I actually do think there's been games this season where they haven't had the depth, and you're not going to get all those two-way players from the Slough Jets all the time, and that's where I think Jacob Ranson's so important. But he's found his new home at the Bees for the remainder of the season. Then Josh Martin as well. Obviously, he's been playing for the Bees for many years. He actually picked up quite a few points back in the day. But again, I don't think he's there to be a point scorer. I think he's there to fill a role. And the main thing I said to you, Dan, was it just gives the top guys a rest. Like Balaz and Gabai, they're getting older. Balaz is 35 years old now. He can't be playing 40 minutes every game. So it just gives him a chance to rest and play 20, 25 minutes a game.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, you can obviously, those players have got skill, and if you're giving them the rest that they need, you're going to get them at 100. Like, you're going to get the best out of them every shift, and they're not having to sort of double shift guys, and they're not having to obviously use all their energy up in one shift, and they can just sort of level it out a little bit more. And like Charlie said, Ransom's a guy that can go on any line, and he can just work, and that's exactly what they're going to get. And hopefully they can start getting a few lines together now. Hopefully they can get a few guys back from injury. You've obviously got Ransom there, Martin there. Maybe to start getting a bit of structure going and sort of seeing how they go now.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him, and we'll talk about it in a bit, but they got a really big win on that Saturday after getting quite a lot of bodies back. And the other bit of news, Basingstoke put out something again, which I'm sure you're happy about, but not too much of an update. They're just trying to get it in place and trying to get the rink sorted by 2025. I think that's the main aim, and then the Bison will follow after that. So we'll see where that goes, and I'm sure you're hoping they'll be back sooner rather than later, Dan. And then the final bit of news was Peterborough's game got called off on the Sunday, and that was due to the rink and just a little bit of they're Planet Ice, a little bit of a worry. We don't want that to become a regular theme, because we know the Peterborough Ice Rink has been around for yonks. And if that does become a regular theme, that's not good. We don't want to see anything like what happened with Basingstoke. So yeah, hopefully it's nothing too serious. And they'll be able to play Milton Keynes next week. Into the games then, and we'll start with the semi-final review. And I had the privilege of being on commentary for the game. Unfortunately, the stream kept cutting in and out. I just want to say, this is not any of the Leeds Knights staff, any of their fault. The Wi-Fi and the connection around the area was just terrible that night. Around the area, the Wi-Fi kept cutting in and out, the connection kept cutting in and out, and they did their very best to try and get the stream to come back on and keep going. So if anyone's trying to blame the Knights or whatever, just remember they were trying their best. It's not like they're doing it on purpose. But either way, me and Gary, we did our best. We just kept commentating. We didn't know whether the stream was going up and down. And yeah, it was a great game to commentate on. And Charlie, it was quite a shock, wasn't it? We'll obviously go through the game a little bit, but before the game, I thought there was going to be a lot of goals, but it was kind of the opposite, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I think what I like about the Sheffield team is they've still got a couple of them core guys, especially in the decor, who kind of know what it takes to win a cup. And that's important when it comes to coming into a cup tie. Ben Morgan, Tim Smith, Kirk, all have won multiple trophies, especially the cup competitions with Sheffield in the last couple of seasons. And so I think their experience really came to play in this game. They know how to defend, and they're quite big game players, to be honest. Kirk, Morgan, what's his name, Smith. They all just turned up that decor, and they really shut down the game. And for me, man of the match was one player and one player only, and that was Ben Norton. When you're playing against Leeds Knights in their building and you want to have a low-scoring game, you need your goalie to be on point. And he really showed why he is probably known as the hottest talent in the league for goalie who's Brit. And it was a really tactical battle, which I think, yeah, it was just a very interesting game. I wouldn't say it was the most entertaining, but you could see that it was a first leg and not a second leg, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, so the first period, the Steeldogs actually come out much better, Dan. They outshot Leeds 18-14, but there wasn't clear-cut chances which you'd say, oh, that should have been a goal. It was more just shooting, trying to get rebounds, the right rebounds. But I thought the defending around the goalies, the netminders in that slot, as Charlie said, you got those veteran guys who just know, just get the puck out of the zone as soon as there's a rebound. And the same with Leeds. I thought they did really well at protecting Gospel when Gospel needed to make a save. He did. And then the second period was a bit different. It switched a bit. Leeds changed something, but it was still really scrappy. And then it just took one moment, didn't it? One bounce. And I predicted it. Obviously, he's probably the guy who'd be the least odds if you were betting. But Kieran Brown got that opening goal, and that's exactly what you expect from him, really, isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, 100%. Especially in a game like that, you obviously they're sort of, both teams cancelling each other out, sort of defending really hard, making it hard for the offense to sort of get anything going, keeping them out wide. And you want your captain to obviously take charge and get that go ahead goal. And obviously, we know what Brown can do. Like we know he can put the puck in the back of the net, and all you needed was that one little bit of chance in front of the goal, and it was in. And I think it's just credit to Leeds for sort of keeping him with it, and because it could have gone either way. And I think they getting that goal definitely changed the game. As soon as that goal went in, you could see a difference. And all it was waiting for was that one goal to go in. And the game sort of opened up a little bit after that. And I think both teams were playing a bit careful at the start. And then obviously, like I said, when that goal goes in, you need to change up a little bit, and you sort of need to chase to get another goal back.
Yeah, it was as Charlie said, you could tell it was a first leg. Very patient play, safe play, not many mistakes whatsoever. I don't really remember any turnovers or players trying to do anything too out there. But hey, Leeds got that power play goal, their third time lucky. 2-0 up, but it was the perfect response, straight back. Ulrich with a bit of class, just showing what he's all about. I love that he didn't rush it. A lot of players panic. They'll force the pass early, they'll shoot early, but he just bided his time, found Halfors, and Halfors for me was the best attacker actually on the night. I thought two-way defensively was really, really good. I think every centre on that ice was really good defensively, but Halfors for me as that winger was really good. And then came the big moment at the end. I don't know where Charlie's going, but the big moment at the end, 6 seconds to go, the Steeldogs get an offensive zone face-off. I think they deserved at least it to be a draw going into the second leg, because I thought they ran the Knights really, really well at their own rink. And it was that man, Charlie. He scored countless big goals in his career. Jonathan Phillips, it just falls to his stick, and he wasn't going to miss from there, was he?
Yeah, I thought, yeah, it was a weird game, and they kind of snuck it at the end, and you saw the celebrations. It was a big goal, like in a 2-leg tie to take it back to your own rink. Drawing is phenomenal. That's what you want, really. That's how Sheffield would have wanted it, and that's why the celebrations were so big. And I think it's an interesting one. Like, it was a weird game. It really was a weird game. It's hard to really describe it because in this league we're used to seeing countless goals a game. Countless goals a game. We see like 5 goals for both teams every game, unless you're a Swindon fan. But it was weird. And I think it was fair for a draw, but I think Leeds will be more frustrated than Sheffield from that result. Because I do think Leeds had probably the better of the chances, but I think Norton was phenomenal. Like you can't really go past. For me, the 2 standout players were Norton and Trombley. Like, oh my days, Trombley turned up that game. I know you're a huge fan of Halfors, and I thought he was good, but Trombley is one of them guys who can shut down any player on the ice. He's so good with his two-way game, and I think one of the reasons the game was so flat is because you had Jonathan Phillips and Trombley. Jonathan Phillips, who made a career off shutting down top liners and playing PK, and Trombley, who was in the Elite League shutting down top liners. So, and the one thing you mentioned, I thought was a really good point, chat. They didn't lose a face off them guys. No. Them guys must have been like 60, 70% on the draw. And if you win the face off, you're in a much better position to score. And to be honest, I'll say it now, they're going to be very tough to beat in their own rink with them two centres, with Uric back in the lineup. I think Leeds are in for a very, very tough task in that second leg, like very tough, because I just think that Steeldogs team almost showed Leeds, you can't score many past us. We're not letting you score many. And I think that Sheffield team has a level to go up on the offense. That full strength Sheffield team's a different team. Do you know what I mean? They don't have Uric full time really. Most weeks they're missing two of their top six forwards. And when they suddenly come full strength, you can see the depth. But then again, Leeds, I don't think they'll want to be go out of fight. So it's a good tie. I really do like the matchup. I think it's a brilliant matchup.
Yeah, I think it will open up more with the big ice actually for both teams because you know how quick Leeds are off the rush. There's a bit less space on Leeds ice, and I think Sheffield were able to play that shutdown game. I give them massive credit because I did think there'd be a lot of goals, but I think we'll see a completely different game in that second leg. I don't think you're going to be able to play that shutdown hockey in Sheffield, but Sheffield have got that advantage, that home advantage, and you can't complain with that. And I think Leeds will be frustrated. They got that first leg, and you want to get a lead out of that. But it's just it's a draw now. You just got to take it. Whoever wins this wins it. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll do our little predictions at the end of this episode to keep you sticking around because we won't do. We'll do our next podcast after the semi-final on that Tuesday. So it will be uploaded on New Year's Day, I think, or the day after New Year's Day, one of the two. So yeah, we'll do it after all the hockey games. So it might be the day after New Year's Day. So maybe next Thursday. But me, Dan are going. Dad, I don't think will go. He'll stream it. Charlie, you might watch it on the stream as well. So, but me and Dan are definitely going to go. So, hopefully as well, there'll be a lot of fans there. I really hope there is because I want it to be a good atmosphere for the semi-final. Should we get into the games then this weekend? And as I said, we'll get back to all the predictions for that second leg at the end, and we'll leave the Swindon game to talk about the back-to-back. So we'll do the 4 games on the Saturday, then we'll do the Swindon back-to-back, and then the other 3 games on the Sunday. And the first game is the Berkshire Bees, and they finally got some players back. They actually had 11 forwards and 4D, but it was actually 10 forwards, 5D, because Ranson stepped in as a D-man. And after losing, I think 6 on the bounce or 7 on the bounce, they get a huge win, Dan. Dominic Gabai, he's one of my favourite ever imports. He's the perfect import for me for this league. I just love it. He scored 2, got 2 assists as well. Ross Bottom scoring, Will Stead getting on the score sheet again, by the way. If I'm just looking at his stats, he has scored in his last 4 games. He has got 1, 4, 5, 6, 7 goals in his last 4 games, by the way. Wilstead is coming up trumps at the moment for the goals for the Bees. I've been very impressed with him. But yeah, Dan, a win for the Bees. And they just shown when they got a full strength team, when they got a Max Wright in goal, they can win on their home ice, can't they?
Oh yeah, 100%. And I've said this to Charlie and stuff. I've been saying it must be like it's annoying for me, like obviously like seeing it, and it must have been annoying for Bees because when they actually do have a good when they've got a good amount of players in the lineup, they can be competitive. And obviously they've been unlucky with like the lineups that they've been putting out there some games, but when they actually do get a good amount, they can put up a good fight against any team. And obviously, like you say, Will Stead, he's having a great year, and they need a guy like Stead that is going to come up for them. And especially in those times when they obviously didn't have the most amount of players, you're sort of looking at those guys to sort of step up and really make an impact. And I think for players like Stead, I think that might positively impact them because he's had so much confidence this year. You can see the way he's playing. He's driving the net every game. He's just being a nuisance around the goal like he always is, but he's actually getting that finishing project as well. And yeah, he's been a great player this year for Bees. But I think when you've got Max Wright as well in their own rink, that you know what they can do in their own rink. They can put up a fight against anyone, and I think that's just a good win for Bees because obviously they were looking a bit down. Obviously the fans were sort of being a bit down, and I think just putting up a good performance against a good Peterborough side, I think he's just really good confidence boost for that team.
Yeah, I want to touch on Max Wright before we move on. Charlie, he's probably, you've mentioned so many times, he's probably impressed you the most this season. Netminders has been, I think the goalies actually this season have been very, very good. Considering the amount of goals that go in, I think there's been some really good performances. But Max Wright in that Slough rink, the Bees rink, 46 out of 49 saves again. He's surprised me the most, I'd say, out of the netminders.
Yeah, I think with Max Wright, I think whenever his team turns up in front of him, there's no diss to Bees. They've had tough circumstances this year. I think whenever his team turns up, I think Max Wright turns up, and it almost frustrates me because I do genuinely believe if Bees have 15 skaters every game from the start of the year, they're close in that playoff battle. I really do. I don't think they're a million miles off so away, and that's where I feel from because I think the players know that, and I think Max Wright is a huge part of that. He's been an upgrade on their goalie from last year, 100%.
Yeah.
He's been huge for them, and he just comes up clutch in games. Like you're like, Bees are gonna have a tough one again. And I said to you before the weekend, I said Bees are winning one this weekend. I said, now they got players. I just knew Max Wright is going to sit on his head for one of the games. Like, it just does that. And it helps because the team plays this style of hockey where they don't give away many breakaways. And in that Slough rink, it's hard to get chances in the slot. And I think one thing Max Wright is excellent at is rebound control. And when you're good at rebound control in that Slough rink, if you don't give away one-on-ones and you push the shots wide, your shots are never really going to be in that danger zone. And if they're not in the danger zone, Max Wright's going to save them. So, yeah, big addition for them this season. And I think one of the additions which has kept them competitive, and that's why I was an advocate for wanting import goalies in this league.
Yeah.
And I'm glad Bees are back on the roll. And I really do see it as long as they can keep the squad, which it looks like because they've got Morris to come back. And I think they still got a couple players out injured. I think Bees are going to get rolling in 2025. And I think we're going to have a league where every single team is competitive. And that is exactly what I want in the National League.
I hope so. I really do hope so. You just never know what's round the corner, really, in this league. There's always something every single season. Last year, it was bloody our rink getting flooded. I don't think anyone saw that coming. And then the year before that was the Bison. So, yeah, but I hope you're right. And, yeah, you're right on the import goalies. I know we want to see brick goalies develop, but I don't think there's any brick goalie out there who'd be available who could do what Max Wright is doing. And that is why you have the import netties for those teams, so they can stay in games and he'll win them games single-handedly. So, yeah, big win for the Bees. Solway Sharks, they have won 4 on the bounce at home. They are rolling at home at the moment. Obviously beating MK, beating Bees twice, and then they beat Hull at home as well. So it's looking like a really horrible place to go to this season. They've now beaten Hull, Swindon, and MK in their own rink. So yeah, just Dan, they are trying to solidify this playoff spot. They're not messing about. Scott Henderson getting on the score sheet. He's someone who's a depthy guy. It's nice to see him get on there. Kel Beattie, me and Charlie, he's becoming one of our favourites. He gets another goal, and it just seems like he's hit form at the perfect time as well. And then obviously your man Gardiner as well. So that is a huge 3-2 win against a whole team who are struggling again.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Solway, I think, obviously I put it in the group chat before, I think their biggest issue that they've got is just their depth scoring. They've literally got Gardiner, obviously he's got about 30-something goals now. And then you've got players with like 4 goals, players with 8 goals. And it's like you never really have even on like the top line, you don't really have that scoring. You've just got one guy. And depth is so important. Like I was talking to Charlie yesterday on the way home. I was like, depth is what wins you championships, and it does show, especially in this league. If you have the depth, it does make a big difference. And so we've got that depth, but they just haven't got that depth scoring. And I don't know. I don't really know what it is. I don't know if their lines aren't really matching or they're just trying to work on line matching at the minute. But if they can get that depth scoring going and keep that form going at home, I think that could be a very, very, very positive thing for Solway because they're in a good position at the minute. And if they can keep building on that, I think they're going to have a great 2025, and they're gonna want it from last year because last year was heartbreaking for them. They got so close, and they're gonna want to get to the end of the season. They're not gonna be wanting to push to try and get into a playoff spot. They want to be pushing to they get their self confidence for playoff. Like that's what they want, and I think if they carry on like this, they're gonna get it, and they just need to keep building and building and building.
Yeah, I think with the scoring, I think you've got guys like Liam Stenton's their fourth top goal scorer. Charlie, you absolutely love him. We do have to move on in a bit, but I'll let you speak about it because Liam Stenton's got 9 goals this season as a defenseman, obviously getting that captain. You've then got Kel Beattie with 4. Like the defensemen are really coming up trumps in recent weeks, and I think it's just about getting Callie Robertson a few more goals now, Scott Henderson a couple more goals, Coulter maybe a couple more goals on that third line, and the fact that they're still solidified in that playoff spot, and they've got players who can really take that step up as well. I think that's actually a positive for them that they've still got stuff to improve on, and they're in that playoff spot.
Yeah, Liam Stenton's slowly establishing himself as one of the best British defensemen in this league. And he really, I'll give credit to Martin Grubb here. Putting him as captain was the best thing he could have done because you can see he's taken that responsibility on. And some players rise to it, some players fall to it. But Liam Stenton is one of them ones who's risen. I think with Solway, it's always a difficult one because they're always going to be top heavy. They don't have the biggest amount of depth scoring this year, but I do think there are a couple players, the 2 you mentioned, I think are the big ones, in Callie Robertson and Scott Henderson, who I think have a gear to go up. Yeah. And I think if you can get just one of them getting their gear up, I think it will. They're in a good spot because they're 6 points ahead of Telford. No, they're 4 points ahead of Telford, I believe now, because Telford beat them with 3 games in hand. So you've just got to try go 50%. That's what I say, and you'll get that playoff spot. But it's going to be a good battle. But I think Solway are quietly going about their business without much of the league noticing. They are just sneaking wins against teams, grabbing 4-point weekends. They beat the Bees when they needed to. Don't get me wrong, as a weak Bees, but they took the 4 points. They beat Hull, which is no easy task, and they're just going about their business quietly. It feels it almost feels that every weekend they get 1 win. And I believe Kel Beattie said that on our podcast. Each weekend get 1 win. And it does feel like Solway do that every weekend. They just pick up 1 win, whether it's home or away.
Yeah, no, they're keeping scores low now compared to the end of start of the season. Obviously, you're going to have your games where it's a bit high scoring, but beating MK 3-2, beating Hull 3-2, they beat Romford 2-1. Like they're keeping the scores low, which is a big improvement from last season. The Sheffield Steeldogs, however, and the Telford game was the complete opposite. 10-6 on that Saturday night. Just I wonder if that semi-final down with the big ice, it could be high scoring like that. I don't think it will get that high scoring, but 10-6, Walker Sommer with a hat trick, Ripley got a couple, Doxy got a couple, Tremblay got one. Just a goal fest. Telford didn't back out. I credit them. I think they were 6 or 7-1 down. They kept fighting back into it. They did pull Brad Day at some point, which was the right decision because of what happened on Sunday and them turning it around and getting a big win. But yeah, Dan, just goals. And goals conceded.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about how tight the D were in that first leg, and they seemed to not turn up in that one. The D sort of had a night off, but I mean, you know what offensive threat Sheffield have got. Like, you look at that team, and they obviously Walker Sommer. He loves a goal. He definitely loves a goal. 5-on-5 goal as well. We love to say that.
3 of them.
Yeah, we love that. But yeah, I mean, it does show like what offensive threat they've got, and I mean Telford we know their D isn't the strongest. Brad Day can be on and off as well this year. Um, but I mean, fair play to them, like you said. At least they didn't. At least they didn't give up. You could have easily gave up in that game, and I think that's massive credit to Telford because when you look at their lines as well, they've got some guys that can give up some offensive threat as well. And I think looking at the scoreline, you can see they did give it to them, and I think it. I feel like if you watch a game, it might have been a bit different to what you see from the scoreline.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's all we can go by. But but yeah, I mean, credit to Telford for not giving up, and I mean, they managed to get out of the way and obviously go for a big win the next day.
Sounds like it was similar to, maybe not quite as close, but similar to that Swindon game with Leeds, where just was a crazy game where just everything went in. And yeah, 10-6 is a crazy scoreline. And then before we get on to the MK Swindon doubleheader, another huge home win. We talked about Solway winning at home. We talked about Bees winning at home, Sheffield winning at home, Bristol won at home as well against Romford. And Bailey Harewood again, man, just 2 goals, a short-handed goal. I haven't seen it, but you can just imagine what that short-handed goal is probably like. Him dangling, maybe. I won't comment on it, but four goals, 4 points on the night. Just another, and it sounds like Napier, Charlie, again. The importance of having that import netminder just keeping you in the game.
Yeah, he's picked it up recently. And Bristol, without again people really talking about, they were on a bit of a rough streak. I think they had quite a few losses in a row, and it was a must-win game, especially against a team which maybe is dropping into that playoff battle. You had to pick up 2 points at home against a Romford team, and they did, and they did it well as well. I don't think it seemed too much of a threatening game. They had a bit of depth scoring in that game as well. I believe Smith, no, Barry McKenzie got one, Ewan Hill got one, and Mason Lipsey got one. So yeah, it's a big win for Bristol, and they've improved on last year. Obviously, looking at the table, they're still a good chunk off getting into that playoff position, but they've taken a step forward this year. The attendances are showing that fans are more excited to watch Bristol each week, and they got Tommy Napier, clean-shaven Tommy Napier, I noticed.
Yeah.
By their recent Instagram post. But he's really locked in. Even I know I always skip ahead, but they lost the next night. Napier's on 5 games in a row, 9-1 above, I believe. 9-1, 91 save percentage for anyone wondering what I'm talking about, which is really good, really high. That's what Sam Gospel's averaging. So Napier's going to sneak into that 90 save percentage, and he's going to keep climbing. And if you've got a good goalie, you can win games. If you don't have a goalie, and I'm not picking on Ben Norton because he's proven everyone wrong by going into it this year, but when you have a good decor and a good goalie in front of you, and you're getting 9 save percentages, you will win more games. It just will happen. And I think in a team like that, where, to be honest, and I will still say it, the defense isn't the strongest. They give up a lot of chances. And I feel for goalies who have to play in that team. It's useful having a goalie who's played with NHLers in net. It makes its difference. And again, I want to exaggerate it. It's the reason import goalies make this league competitive. And I'm not saying it in a rude way, but if you shove 2 Brit goalies in them teams, they've got quite a few less points. And that is why we need imports in this league, because it means the lower end teams can beat the very best teams on their night, like we've seen with Bees, like we've seen with Bristol. And I still think, I think Bristol are one of them teams. We're playing them on Friday, where I think you think you'll beat them, but there's that bit in your head where you're like, if Napier has a good game and Bailey Harewood and Price, like they always do, get like 3 goals, you're thinking, oh, it's going to be a fun night.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Just the import goalie debate. This is why they are in the league, and yeah, just happy for them because they're getting 1.4k in the building. I believe that's the 3rd highest in the whole league, which is really good considering where they are in the league. But that doesn't really matter because at the moment they're still, I think, rebuilding, and they had to rebuild this year, and they've done it in the right way. So credit to them. And Butler is back as well. That probably showed as well, him being in the team, being able to help him shut down the game. No Ethan James or Sylvester, but they were back on the Sunday, I believe. So yeah, big win for Bristol. Right. the MK Swindon doubleheader. And we'll start with the one on Saturday. And after 5 minutes of the game, it was 6:51 of the game. It was 2-0 to the Lightning, and it was looking like one of them annual. Charlie said to me, we always have that game a year against MK where they do just smash us, and we just have to brush over it and go again. And at 7 minutes in, you're thinking, yeah, okay, 2 goals up. The Lightning look on it here. They scored 2 really nice goals. They punished us when we lost possession. But Aronell took the timeout, Charlie. I'm going to come to you because that timeout, and people have picked up on it as well. And that's when you know that it was such a big timeout for the team just to reset. And from then on, we didn't concede a goal from the 7th minute all the way to the 51st minute. And that timeout, I think, was crucial to it, wasn't it?
Yeah, you as a coach, you have to pick the right time to just calm your team down. And in a rink like MK, it's difficult. And we went into that game and we weren't, as Dan said to me, we weren't breaking out very well. We couldn't get the puck onto our forward stick. And when MK got that forecheck going and that crowd behind them, it's very difficult to basically stop their forecheck, because if you don't make that first pass, they grab the puck, they recycle it, they tire you out, and they got 2 goals. And Aaron now called the timeout, just said to the boys, calm down. And it almost felt we went a bit more defensive. Like, would you agree there, Dan? After that timeout, almost went a little bit more defensive and went, you know what? If this period ends 2-0, it ends 2-0, but let's not.
That's what Aaron said. He said he wanted to go in, just keep it at 2-0, and we'll worry about the second and third.
That was very important because MK, for me, are quite a patches team. Sorry, did I cut out there?
No.
MK for me are quite a patches team. They play in patches of games, and as we saw on the next night, you have to stop their patches. And we managed to stop that patch, and then they didn't have another patch till later on in the game, and it meant we were able to play the Swindon way. And I think Eddie Bebris and Godfrey maybe had a bit of a shaky first. They couldn't quite get that breakout pass, but as soon as the second and the third hit, they played some of the best hockey I've seen. They kind of gathered their head together, and we got going. And you have to ride your luck in MK, but definitely timeouts are so important. And that was just a classic example of the coach telling the boys, calm down, don't concede another one, and we'll figure it out in the period break.
Yeah, you just cannot lose it. And the game could be over by the first period if it's 3 or 4. But we got into that period breakdown at 2-0 down, and suddenly we get an early power play into the second period. And Swindon have been and will probably always be a special teams. Like we rely on our power play a lot in key moments because we got the players to be able to do that. Aaron Nell's obviously a specialist. You've got Malazinski, who is so key to our power play. You've got Billing in the slot, and then you've added that extra threat with Bricknell, and that's exactly what happened. Bricknell obviously took the shot. Goalies have to be careful because Bricknell's got such a powerful shot, and Headley couldn't hold on to it. And there's Glenn Billing. I always compare Glenn Billing and Hayward. They're very, very similar. They are horrible players to play against, because they'll just score goals in the crease, won't they? And that's exactly what Billing did, just first straight onto the rebound.
Yeah, it's what he's always done. He's done it wherever he's been. He's always just scored those dirty goals, just greasy goals in the crease. But you need a guy like that, and he's one of the best at doing it. But yeah, I was talking to obviously Charlie in the period break, and I was saying what Swindon need here is an early goal. Like, Swindon need the next goal. You need to make it 2-1.
Next goal was key, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you don't want MK to get another goal. And Swindon is exactly what Swindon did. I was laughing with Charlie. I was like, "Oh, you need to get me on the bench." Like, that's how they did what I said. But yeah, I mean, massive credit to Swindon's power play. I can't remember the last time there was a season where their power play was bad. Even from when I first started watching back in like 2011, I can still remember that power play being scary. And it's just when you look at their power play compared to other teams, you can really see the quality that it's got, because it's such a structured power play, and it always goes through the same guys. They never change it up, and that's big because you can get found out, but if you play it the right way, it will still work.
Move the
And
puck
that
fast.
that's
Get guys
exactly
in the
what Swindon
slot.
did. It's literally get it to the guy, pass it across into the slot, bang, get a shot off. Get that shot off quick. If there's a rebound, another guy jumps in. Or if you get the puck behind the net, pass it back to the point. It's just quick. Everyone knows where they need to be, and that's the whole reason why Swindon will never change the power play, because the guys know exactly where they need to be, and it just works perfectly for them. So they're not going to change it, are they?
Well, fast forward. Jake Britnell gets a really nice goal. We call it the Godfrey banger, where he just slapshot it on goal, hoping for a tip or a rebound. That's exactly what happened. And Jake Britnell was to be fair, he missed that chance before, didn't he? Didn't quite get enough on it, but he stuck in the play and he got that goal, which was very big for him personally as well. That tied it up at 2. Then the Lightning had one of their spells again, where Venus, County, Norris, and I think it was Nags and Griffin just had it in the zone for a good minute. And my dad literally said about 10 seconds before, and this is looking like a power play. And then Nags just backhand shelves it, top corner past Mar, to give him a 3-2 lead. But I always said, if you can get in MK, if you can get it to pull in your goalie worth just one goal behind, you've got a chance. And then we get a power play again, Charlie. And again, just tight moments. MK couldn't quite control the discipline. And just as Dan said, Chris Jones in the slot, Malazinski, he's always going to pick him out. And Jones, perfect goal, just along the floor. If he'd have gone high, I think Headley saves it, but he went along the floor, bottom corner. And then the madness happened, 3-3. And I just want to say, before we talk about it, because we are a podcast, we're going to talk about this stuff. We're going to talk about the highs and the lows. We have been a massive advocate for refereeing and how hard their job is, and we have backed them and supported them so much. But we're also there to criticise decisions, and I got to say, that was one of the worst calls I've ever seen at an ice hockey game. Rennie Mars covered the puck with his hand. The MK players skated over his glove. I think the whistle was blown as well, and Hewitt's called a trip in on Mar, and I'm like, how can you call that with 3 minutes to go? It's not even a penalty, but against MK, probably the toughest place to go to. You've grinded so hard for 57 minutes and you get called a penalty, which is not a penalty in a million years. He's literally put his glove over. Anyways, MK go on the power play and Glenn Billin, in the heat of the moment, plays the puck back with his hand, which is a penalty, by the way. It is a penalty. I have no complaints about that. It's a face-off violation. You can't play it back with your hand. But it wouldn't have happened if that first one didn't get called. Anyway, MK have a 5-on-3 for 1 minute and 20 seconds. Swindon kill off that 20 seconds. And Charlie, we want to talk about it because I'm sure Tim Wallace is a nice bloke, but he is the player coach. He is the one guy, he is the veteran guy who your team's going to look to just calm the team down and make sure they don't do anything silly. And they're on a 5-on-3, which is a very high chance of scoring. I'd say 75% plus chance of scoring to win the game. And he takes the stupidest penalty by tripping up Wells in the crease. It was silly, wasn't it, Charlie? No, it was Wells,
Was it
but
Wells?
Blues had wound him up by pushing him out the crease.
I don't know how a coach is doing that. Mental. National League is mental. But like, all I said to Dan is, I don't know how. This is my opinion. People can think what they want, but I don't know how he, as a coach, went into that dressing room when they lost the game and said to them boys, what went wrong? When, in my opinion, he did the most stupid thing of the whole game. As the coach who set an example. That's like, there's captain and then there's coach. And he gave away a retaliation penalty because he got wound up. Mental. And it's like, it was bananas. And I know MK went on to have a decent weekend, so they're not going to go mental at him. But if Aaron now did something like that, I would have lost it. I would have lost it. Like, it's bananas. Like, that was the game changer at that time of the game. Like, they had us in the palm of their hand. Don't get me wrong, their power play wasn't particularly great, so whether they would have scored or not on that, I don't know. But it was just a bananas decision, and I don't know, like it just confuses me because this is the coach who set the example, and he did not there, and that to me stems somewhere shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have happened in a game. Your coach should never do that. Your coach needs to set an example, and yeah, I couldn't quite get my head around that one. I wasn't complaining. I was quite grateful, but yeah, it was one of them ones where I was still seething about the fact that Will Hewitt called the Mar penalty, and then I kind of looked at Dan and went, "Why has he done that? Like, what is he doing?"
And I just want to reiterate, we're not having an attack at him personally whatsoever. We're just saying it. I think it was a very dumb play, especially in the position he's in, and the position MK could have gone and won that in regulation time. But anyway, Dan, it went on to be a 4-on-3 power play. So Swindon still had something to kill off, and our special teams again this season hasn't just been the power play; it's been the penalty kill as well. Ryan Wells, Plews, Billin, Malazinski and Nell just putting bodies on the line, Bebrus as well, just to get that point, didn't they?
Yeah, 100%. And Rennie Ma.
Oh my gosh, I haven't even come on to it
Rennie
yet.
Ma. Rennie Ma was, again, just like the playoffs last year, he was unreal in MK. Like, he was unreal. The way that he's playing this whole year, like, he's just been lights out. He does give Swindon a chance every single game. It's just the confidence he brought to that decor, and the decor's the confidence to him. I think it's just been huge this year. And when you've got a Rennie Ma like that in MK, you're always going to get a chance to do something. And you go into those final very, very nervy minutes, obviously, for you guys. I mean, I was loving it. I had Charlie hitting me nearly every like a minute. But yeah, you get into that nervy bit and you still have Rennie making those massive saves. Like, it's huge. And I think Rennie is a massive turning point in that game as well. I think if he doesn't make that save, if he doesn't make those big saves, he doesn't get across the goal. He made that big double save. There's so many moments that the game could have been over, and
Norris had a shot in the slot. He was free as a daisy, and Rennie Ma got a shoulder to it.
Exactly.
He's
and it's
honestly
like
been unreal.
He's a massive, massive confidence goalie, and you don't want to face him when he's confident because he will save you a game. And he did that in that exact moment. He saved you a game, and obviously you guys went on and got a massive, massive win.
Well, before that, it went to overtime, and then another penalty. And Aaron Nell did actually get the penalty, but this one, I think it wasn't a retaliation penalty. Venus was going to go away with a 2-on-1, so he had to trip him up. And Lightning got another 4-on-3 power play in overtime. And I've got to say, special teams were a big one in this one. MK didn't score a single power play goal, and we killed them all off. And then Ryan Wells, just one of the best players I've ever watched. I'm not exaggerating either. Just steals the puck away. Just a check. Just what he is so clever at doing. He reads the game so well. Races away, having killed the penalty for the whole 2 minutes. He races away with Glenn Billin. Glenn Billin's away 1-on-1, and he balloons it over the bar, Charlie. It was quite a bad shot, I'm not going to lie. We can laugh and joke about it now, but he ballooned it over the bar. But this is what Glenn Billin is so good at. He didn't freeze. The whole MK players on the ice, all those 4 players on the ice for MK froze. And you cannot do that in overtime. And Glenn Billin was the one who went round the net, picked it back up, back to Wells, who'd been on for 2 minutes, snipes it in the top corner for the overtime winner. And that was one of the most limbs I've ever felt at a hockey game ever. You had, if you've seen the pictures on our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, Charlie was jumping on Dan's back. Me and my dad were just jumping around, going crazy. You had group hugs with Charlie and some of the fans. Honestly, it's probably top 3 moments of my whole time watching hockey. It was unbelievable. And yes, it's because MK are massive, and to win in Milton Keynes Dan, I'm sure one of the best games you've ever watched is when Basingstoke won in Milton Keynes 9, whatever it was, or 6, whatever it was.
7-4.
7-4. So
I
it was
remember.
just a monumental win, which we shouldn't have won. And yeah, just unbelievable. And just one last point. Again, not attacking personally. I was a bit annoyed actually as an MK fan that in the post-match interview, Wallace didn't even mention that he took that penalty and he shouldn't have taken that penalty. And I just thought that was pretty poor as well, Charlie.
Oh, mate. Ryan Wells is the best defenseman in this league, and no one's even close to him. There's no one close. I remember this. I remember it was quite funny. I'll tell everyone a story. Ryan Wells played his first game for Swindon. I looked at Jack and I went, he's the best D-man in this league and no one's close. And Jack went, oh, are you sure? I went, yeah, we'll watch him. He's unbelievable. And just as every game, this guy just gets better. And and even like on the Sunday, he had a worldie. I don't think the guy has bad games in this level. He doesn't. And you can look at points or whatever. I don't really care. Hockey is a game you watch with your eyes, and Ryan Wells is one of them guys who he is so influential. Whenever he's on the ice, we're 10 times the team. The same way with Malas. It's the same effect. We've got Malas at D. It's flipping brilliant. We've literally got a Malas at D. I love it. Because you just rely on them. They are defense first people, and it's brilliant to watch. And when the offense comes, he was so composed in that shot. He didn't rush, he didn't panic, he just slotted it away. And he told me he doesn't celebrate much. So I don't know what he was doing in that game, but
To be fair, I watched it back. He gave it a little knee slide and then did the old point, just like that is aura.
But yeah,
I know
it was a great game. And just to touch on one thing, yeah, I did celebrate it like the Stanley Cup. I flipping love beating MK. Oh my days, it's brilliant. They got their revenge the next night. Fair enough. I think that was the most moody I've been after a game this season. I just went straight home. But I love the games against MK because they produce moments like that. And I think what was so good about this game, I think hockey fans will relate so much. And I know we're going on about it, but it's because it was so sick for us. As Swindon fans, winning MK is so much fun. And what was so crazy about that game, and Dan would be able to agree, is it felt like Swindon were going to.
And there we go. He's cut out
He's
just
cut
like
out
that.
at a bad time.
I think I've heard him say it. We should have lost that so many different points, but we stuck in it and got there. But yeah, it was just unbelievable. Charlie cut out. He's back, but yeah, just
we
unreal.
could have lost that so many points, and it just makes it so intense. And your hope goes. You're like, oh, 3-2, 3-3, oh, 5-on-3. We killed it. Oh, last minute save, overtime, 4-on-3 in overtime. We score, and it's like just the amount of moments where it was like, we're gonna lose. Oh no, we're back in it. Oh, we're gonna lose. Oh, we're back in it. mental game. It was, oh mate, the games this weekend were. It's one of the best weekends of hockey I've watched in a long time. They were 100%. 2 phenomenal games, and we only mentioned Forsberg. He was good.
Yeah, so we'll go on to Sunday, and MK come out strong. I thought they come out strong. They had their game plan. I think Aaron in his interview said that they were desperate to win this game. They were. If they'd have lost this game, it's a very poor weekend. And you could see how desperate they were, Dan, in the way that they were playing. They were playing their asses off. Like every player in that team. I couldn't name a bad performance for MK on that Sunday night. I thought they all put in a shift. And then, of course, it was Ross Venus who stepped up, got that first goal. Felt bad for Rennie, by the way. He pulled off 3 unbelievable saves. And then Ross Venus just tapped it in to get that 1-0 lead. But again, our special teams, a power play goal from Nell this time, a different type of goal, just the slap shot. We've got so many different ways of scoring on the power play. And then come that funny patch. You talked about patches and how important they are, Charlie, but there was a bad hit on Shaw. It was a bad hit. I'm not blaming it at all on this hit, by the way. MK deserved to win on the Sunday, by the way they played and defended out the game. I think it was a really bad hit by Forsberg on Shaw, and I get that Forsberg's big and Shaw's little, but it was one of those, Dan, where Josh Shaw was about a metre away from the board. He was facing the board down, ready with the puck. And Forsberg pushed him straight into the board's head first. And it's lucky Josh had the cage on, wasn't it? Because I did think that was quite a bad hit. And I think that was a momentum turner because it kind of, MK got away with that and it kind of switched in their favour in terms of, the physicality went up. We lost it a bit, I think. And they got 2 quick goals, didn't they?
Yeah, 100%. It like we said at the game, it did feel like a playoff game.
Yeah.
The way that the hits were going, literally from the off, like straight away, the hits were flying. Big bodies into the corner, big check center ice, and it was a very, very enjoyable game to watch. But I think up until that point, obviously that you were talking about with the Shaw hit, it sort of rocked Swindon a little bit, like we were talking about, and they sort of Swindon were matching the physicality up until that point, and then that happened, and I think it just switched like that, like just by one hit, and it changed the whole thing. And it's just like they're the times against MK that we were saying you just have to be so careful because you can lose the game in that point. And obviously MK did. They took advantage of the chances that they had, and the time that obviously the momentum just switched. And hockey is a massive momentum game, and MK, we said it, MK wanted that game. Like they didn't seem like they were going to go into that game and lose. Like the way that the whole team were just the way they were acting, the way they were coming onto the bench after his shift, and everyone was obviously patting them on the head. You had the stick taps every play. Like they were just
They had to win that game. They had to.
The mentality in that team was, we have to win this.
We can't
leave this ice and lose.
This isn't us digging at them. They played it like a playoff Stanley Cup game, didn't they? Like they put bodies on the line. And I want to shout out one guy, and I know he got the credit on Milton Keynes Lightning fan page, but Ben Solder was unplayable yesterday. He was unbelievable. Shutting down. He must have blocked countless shots. He was where we had a power play as well in that final period. He killed that whole power play. Like, he was unbelievable. I thought, if we're talking about Forsberg, apart from that hit on Shaw, which I think was quite dirty, I actually think he's going to be a nightmare for other teams. He's big, 6'3". He'll throw the body. He's a very good skater, and he's not afraid to skate into the zone and take a chance.
And he's got an unreal shot as well.
Yeah, he's got a very powerful shot, which I think is going to cause goalies a lot of problems in this league. Sorry, Charlie's lagging a bit there, but we were just talking about Forsberg, Charlie, and I think he is going to be a big threat to a lot of teams. It adds that little bit more of a worry factor when MK go forward, I think.
Yeah, I think Forsberg made his impact this weekend. I think he's got a good toe drag and a good fake shot on him. I think you'll see that quite a lot. He likes the fake shot, watch the player go past, and then he'll go through and shoot. Sorry, there's knocking. It just distracted me. But no, I think it will be. I think Forsberg will be a good signing for them. I like the look of him. They've got enough offense in that team, and I think he does improve their decor. And credit to MK. I thought they, like you said, I was listening to you from the other room. I thought they played really well on that Sunday. I was frustrated as a Swindon fan because I thought we had 10 minutes where the structure went, and I think that cost us the game. That's where MK scored their 2 goals, but Max Stewart took his goal brilliantly, and Sean Norris, they had power play troubles the night before, and they did what Swindon did to them, where they just tapped it straight in the back of the net. I think I'm frustrated because it went the way I wouldn't have wanted it to go. I would have been happy if we had got two points at our place and 0 away, but because we had the away game second. But it's always a good battle between these two teams. And I think, weirdly, I think MK fans will agree with me here. It almost feels like they've taken a step forward away, but they've almost taken a step back at home, but they were never going to keep unbeaten the whole season at home again. Do you know what I mean? It's an interesting one, but one comment I thought I would make, because I think you guys will agree. I think they need to start Headley in every big game.
Yeah, no, I was
Personally,
going to bring this up.
I'm not a huge fan of a 1A, 1B. I think Curlin's a very good goalie, and I thought he didn't play bad on the Saturday at all. This isn't any diss on Curlin, but I think in the National League, where you only play 2 games a week, you got to have a starter. Let your starter get hot. If you look at the three examples I can give, Rennie Mars not dropped below a 9-1 until Sunday in the last 5 games, and it was able to let him get hot in every game. Sam Gospel is the same, and so is Tommy Napier. You've got to let goalies start every game so they start getting into the rhythm of bang, bang, bang. You saw it with Rennie over the last 3 weeks. You've seen his confidence just rise. But I think it's very difficult for a goalie's confidence to rise by playing 1 game a weekend. I do think it's difficult to do that. And it's difficult because they've got 2 good goalies, but I think they need to pick their starter and run with it, because I think this league, if you had 3 games a week, I get playing 2 games, 1 goalie, 1 game, the other goalie. But when it's 2 games a week, I think you have to play your starter in the big games against the top 4 teams, personally.
Especially now that they are in that title race now. We're over halfway through, or just got past halfway. So I agree with that. Headley is moved up to, I think, 3rd or 4th now in save percentages. So it just shows, just keep starting him. He was joint save percentage with Sam Gospel last season. I agree with that, but coaches have their way of playing. So if they want to play like that, that's fair enough. They're still top of the league at the end of the day. And then, yeah, they went on to kill that game. Credit to them. We spoke... what am I on about? We've got this really nice fan. I'm just going to get his name out. I think it's Luke. Let me just double check, because I don't. Yeah, Luke Dillo. Shout out to Luke. He's probably the closest MK fan with us. We always have a chat with him every game, and we were able to have a laugh and a chat afterwards. So shout out to Luke. But I think that's what it's all about. And there's a lot of toxicity over Twitter. I know you like to have a bit of banter, Charlie, but I don't think you ever take it too far in terms of abuse and actually picking on guys personally. But
I just like to put a bit of bait out there and see what
I've loved this weekend, and I wasn't even too disappointed, because I thought in that 3rd period we really tried to fight back. But we've spoken a lot about the MK Swindon bit. It was a big one. We pinned it on our calendars to be the big one just before Christmas, and we'll move on to the Sundays quickly, and then we'll go through the final, the second leg of the semi-final. Sorry. So on the Sunday, the Raiders probably produced the perfect response. 4-0 shutout. Ethan James back in the lineup. Aleph got a couple. You got Lasham back in the team. He got a goal. Miller as well. So the top guys really stepping up, and the power play stepping up as well. 3 power play goals. And Ethan James getting the shutout. I think he actually saved quite a lot of shots as well. I don't think Bristol, 41 shot shutout. And shout out Tommy Napier. They had 53 shots, so he saved 49 out of 53. So he is eating up a lot of shots at the moment, Tommy. But yeah, that's the perfect response for the Raiders, who really needed that. Because as you said, Charlie, Raiders are slipping down a bit, aren't they, in the league? And they're kind of falling into that playoff battle.
Yeah, and they had a big as much as I love Yoki Hammer, they had their coach come back this weekend. Adam Lasham played both games, scored in both games, I believe, or got points in both games. And if they can get them 3 imports on fire, they'll have 3 of the best attackers in the league. I think that's fair to say. And so they got some players back, and I think it's difficult for them because I think they were so focused on that cup semi-final, and they did it, and they almost had a hangover from it, just kind of throughout it, if you know what I mean. Like the games in the week weren't the important games. It was the semi-final, and I think they just got a lot back in the league. Make sure you pick up your points. Don't get involved in a playoff scrap. In my opinion, they're too good for that. They can get out of that. They played a top line of Lasham, Schufelt, and Miller. They had a line of that. Like, that's disgusting. Personally, I'd spread it out, but I'm not a coach. But it's a good one, and I think it was a big win for them on Saturday. Ethan James again. Cherney's having a better year. Got a 40 save shutout or something. That's mental. He's picked up good form, and yeah, I don't think they did handshakes at the end of that game, so it was a proper Romford game.
I'm sure the fans were loving that as well. The whole Seahawks, we touched on it a bit earlier, but they're struggling at the moment. It's not how we know that they can play. Obviously, Leeds is not an easy opponent, especially an angry Leeds from Friday night who would have wanted to win in that semi-final. And that second period was just an absolute hounding from Leeds. Matt Cowler, I haven't seen the goal, but apparently it was a highlight reel goal. They got 4 goals in that second period, and then 2 in a minute in that third period, which just completely killed off that game. And it's another disappointing one for Hull, Dan, who looked like they were getting back into a bit of form, and now they've lost another 2 in a row.
Yeah, it's again they just can't seem to keep the puck out their own net. I think we've been saying that all throughout the season, and it's a big problem for Hull at the minute. And they just really need to find a way of just defending, and sort of keeping the shots down, keeping the scores down, because we've said it before. They've got the offense. They can score goals, but when you're conceding goals like this, you can't expect to score more than you concede. If you're keeping it down to say 3 goals a game, 2 goals a game, that offense is more than capable to get more than 2 goals, 3 goals a game, and then you won. But they just can't seem to play that way, that they can just protect the house and just keep people out of the crease, to keep people out of those dangerous areas, and just really lock it down in D and just sort of create chances from the back. They're sort of a team that we know what they're like. Like, they're a team that thrives off having that offense, and they just sort of throw everything forward and just relying on scoring goals from that. And they never really think about when it goes back the other end. And I think it is just the way Hull play, but they really need to knuckle down on that, because they need to be careful. Otherwise, they're going to fall into a really bad trap, and it's going to be tough to get back out of it again.
Yeah, you can see the 3 teams at the top are Leeds, MK, Swindon. And the difference between those 3 teams is they've all conceded less than 100 goals. Swindon have conceded 80, Leeds 72, which is just crazy. They're so good defensively. And we even said, we thought they were better defensively last season, but they're still conceded the least amount of goals this season. And then MK are 91, and then Hull is all the way up to 109 goals conceded. So we've seen a massive difference this year, Charlie, in just the defensive structure for Swindon. And I think they've had so many D-men in and out. They've got so many D-men signed up, but not all of them can play. And I get it's really tricky, but they've just got to find a way this new year just to try and switch it up. They know they're going to score goals and just try and keep some of the score lines low, as you said, Dan. But yeah, really tough one on Sunday night for the Seahawks, and a big win for Leeds. It just keeps them on the heels of MK, and they've got a couple games in hand. Telford, we talked about the bounce back. They got a big bounce back against the Solway Sharks. They beat them 5-2. And Skaleski, I'm glad he's back. When he first got the injury, a lot of people thought he'd be out for a lot longer. But he has come back. He scored a really nice penalty shot. And yeah, I think that's big for Telford to have a player quality such as Skaleski, because before he got injured, I'd probably say he was their most dangerous forward, Charlie.
Yeah, I think they had a line of Mackenzie, Ferguson, and Skaleski, which I think Skaleski is one of them guys who took about 3 weeks to settle, and then he started getting 2 points a game.
Like Price.
Yeah, and he had a huge weekend. I think he got 4 goals, 2 on each night. And for me, probably one of the standout players of the weekend. And the thing is, he turned up in a game where Telford were desperate for a win. If they had lost that game, they would have been in a difficult position. 8 points behind with 3 games in hand for Solway. It's a tough ask for most teams. And he scored a big penalty shot for them, which was a big goal. And as one import went out injured, he came back in and filled that gap pretty nicely. And yeah, I think he's a huge player for Telford. They've relied on their imports a lot this year. Their Brits have been struggling a bit more this year. They haven't quite got that Brit depth we know Telford have. And they've been relying on their imports to win them games. And I think Skaleski's definitely one of them imports.
Yeah. And then the other game was obviously called off. So the Bees, didn't get beaten this weekend. Yeah. Yeah, fair play to him, and that will obviously be rescheduled at some point, which means probably a midweek game. So another game we can probably watch. Yeah. But yeah, that's all the games from the weekend. Apologies again if we maybe talked a bit too much about our game, but that's the one we were at, and we were looking forward to this one for so long. Before we go, quickly look at the standings, and then we'll quickly go through our preview. But the standings, MK go into the Christmas period at the top of the league. But the Leeds Knights, as we said, 1 point behind them with 2 games in hand. So, yeah, Swindon are a bit behind that now. We've played 28. We've got 38 points. So we're about 5-6 points behind the likes of Leeds and MK. And then below us, you've then got Sheffield, 34, Peterborough, Hull, and then that playoff battle, which you said, Charlie, Romford on 30, Solway on 28, and Telford on 24. So, yeah, I think it's a big push now for Telford because they've actually played a few more games than everyone else. So, yeah, that is the standings. Right, predictions then for the second leg. We won't talk too much about it, but yeah, Sheffield have put themselves in a good spot. Dan, are they going to get it over the line, or are the Knights just going to come out and finally get over that? But well, they've still got the cup final to play if they do, but are they going to get the job done in Sheffield?
Yeah, I think Leeds are going to get it done.
Whoa,
I think
okay.
we just spoke about their D. We just spoke about their defense. I think they're really going to go into that game. They know what a big ice is like. They know what Sheffield can do on that big ice, but I think they're going to really lock it down defensively. And I think what they're going to do is they're really going to get their offensive lines going. There was a few guys in the first leg that didn't really show what they can do. So I think they're going to go into that game. They're going to really lock it down defensively. They're going to be expecting what Sheffield are going to do, because you know what they will do on that big ice, and they're just going to get some early goals, and then just keep it tight at the back and just sort of cruise on from there. I think
It's interesting you say that, actually. I thought there's a lot of quiet players who have been picking up so much points throughout the season. Bissonette, Walker Sommer was really quiet. I thought Leeds dealt with him really, really well. But it is a bigger ice pad, and he scored a lot of goals 5-on-5 at home. Howlett, he was quite quiet. But that's because we expect so much of them going forward, and I think it will be opened up in that second leg. Charlie, I don't know if people can take you seriously with a charger around your head, but what's your kind of predictions for the next leg?
Sheffield are going to win. Sheffield are going to win by 2 goals. They're going to go 2-0 up in the tie, and then they're going to shut the game down and win 3-1.
What? Wow.
I think that Sheffield goal was huge. That game just completely reminded me of a Greg Wood Sheffield performance. And I can't really get that out of my head because he was one of the best cup coaches behind Slava I've seen. So for me, I'm just like, Sheffield do the same thing again, but add a little bit more offense, and jobs are good.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree. I don't think it's going to be a 4-goal game again. I think it's going to be a bit more goals. If there's a couple of early goals, defenses are going to open up. Like, it's going to create a lot more. I don't think it's going to take 40 minutes for a goal this time. And I'm going to go with Leeds on this one. Sheffield's probably going to go and prove me and Dan wrong once again. But no, I am going to go with Leeds on this one. I just think they've got those top guys who I think are just going to go for it. I think they do have a better defence than Sheffield. No disrespect to Ben Norton, who I think is unbelievable. And if he plays like he did in that first leg, I think he's going to be tough to get past. But Sam Gospel in a big game. I mean, can you write Sam Gospel off in a big game?
I'm not writing him off. He's only
I don't know.
2.
Pardon?
1 an empty net. He's only conceding 2, 1 an empty net. Actually, I'm changing my prediction. 3-0. Norton shutout.
Hey, shout out Norton, by the way, really nice guy. And I was really happy for him after that first leg. But I'm gonna go with Leeds, just edging it, I think, a little bit. I think Kieran Brown, man, like, he's gonna love the big ice. Matt Howlett as well. But it's interesting. I think a lot of people write Sheffield off, but they could do it. A player to watch out for then, a ones to watch for this tie. Who wants to go first?
My ones to watch is Sam Cooper. He's going to score.
Oh, that's a really like out there one. Okay, nice one. Dan, who's your ones to watch for the tie?
I'm going to go with Bissonnette.
Oh, okay. Stealing
Go-
from Charlie's last time.
Copy of
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Going back home. He's gonna go into that ice and he's gonna be like, yeah, I know what I'm doing on this ice pad, and then he's gonna go on there and he's just gonna boss the game. He's just gonna take the game by the scruff. He's gonna control every play. He's gonna be dishing out passes left, right, and centre. Gonna be beating it onto Mac Howlett's stick, onto Brown's tape. And it's just gonna be snipes from there. And yeah, I think Bissonnette's just gonna take the game and just run with it.
I'm gonna go. You might call it boring. I'm gonna go with Howlett. I just think the big
Boring.
ice, absolute
Boring.
pacey. If I do remember, Dan, I think you chose him as your ones to watch for the league. So
true.
I think you could also be called boring as well. There, mate.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go
I'll
Matt
choose Aaron
Howlett.
now.
I remember that first game we watched of the whole season. It was Sheffield versus Leeds, and Mac Howlett scored that overtime winner, and just him on that big ice. If he could do that again, like, woo. But yeah, let us know your predictions. Who's your ones to watch? We appreciate everyone tuning in for this episode. It's been a long-winded one. We've talked for a lot. Again,
Happy Christmas.
Yeah, happy Christmas. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about that.
Happy Christmas.
Flipping Santa at. But
Happy
yeah,
Christmas.
Actually, if you're watching this podcast before Christmas, drop a comment on our recent Instagram post. Macca's Taught Hockey. Make sure you drop us a follow as well. And drop a comment of if you could pick one player to sign for your club as a Christmas present, what would it be? No unrealistic ones.
okay,
As
I'll
in,
put
no
a tweet
NHLers.
actually. I'll put a tweet out of this. And people
And
can
reply to the
that.
tweet. And if you don't reply to the tweet, I'm going to be very upset.
You're a fake Macca's fan.
Yeah. It would be a fake.
No, I'm joking. But yeah, we appreciate all the support. And we'll have the next episode probably out on that Wednesday or Thursday after those New Year games. So yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.